let's talk about the equilibrium condition of cost minimization in general. We have solved a specific problem, so basically we kind of bypassed the general structure. All right, so we have seen that the diagram, it's just the same with different notations. The problem is also just the same with different notations. So that means that the idea or the equilibrium condition, it remains the same, but obviously when we write it in terms of terms related to production. So that means instead of, let's say, marginal utilities, here we'll have marginal productivities. So MPL by MPK. Okay, and this will be MRTS K comma L, which is marginal rate of technical substitution. So basically it is marginal rate of substitution. To mention that this is coming directly under from a production side, we just introduce this term technical. So that does the job. And this will be equal to the price ratio of inputs, which is W by R. So price ratio of inputs. Okay, so the result basically is that W by R equal to MRTS K comma L. To get that mathematically, what we have to do is, instead of taking a specific function like K and L, sorry, like K into L, we just have to consider the general problem that minimized C equal to WL plus RK, L and K being minimized subject to Q naught equal to Q of L comma K. Then from the first order condition, then FOC will give me the equilibrium condition. Okay. All right. Now, the next possible extension or next possible journey is obviously a comparative static. Okay. And the comparative static here is a bit different from the comparative static that we are interested in consumer behavior rather. So here, the comparative static that we'll be interested in is what happens if I change Q naught, and the result that we get is called the expansion path. The name is pretty simple. Why? Because if a farm is increasing quantity, it means the farm is expanding. So the cost, the optimal cost or the minimized cost associated to that expansion in production is called the expansion path. If you go by English, that's what it means. So change in Q naught. All right. So what you're interested in is not really the answer, or I mean how to find the expansion path. We are interested in something else. We are interested in how this expansion path is related to returns to scale issues of a production function. That's what we are originally interested in. Okay. And there is a reason of this interest. The reason is that now the marginal values, they have more realistic interpretation than they had in consumer behavior. So for example, marginal productivity is more a real concept compared to marginal utility. Okay. All right. So let's look at the definition of the expansion path formally. Okay, so it is the locus of the tangency, no, not tangency, it's the locus of the equilibrium points or cost minimized levels of inputs that are generated by changing the constraint level of output. Constraint level of output. Assuming, so obviously the first bracket, assuming constant factor prices or input prices, whatever you write. Okay. So it is the locus of equilibrium points, rather cost minimized levels of inputs or equilibrium values of inputs, whatever you can say, that are generated by changing the constant level of output. Okay, so what you're asking is that if the firm wants to expand, what will happen to the cost minimized level of inputs? That's what we are asking. Now, the equilibrium condition, we know it, right? The equilibrium condition is, no, the equilibrium condition, let's say, yields the minimum cost combination for any given input. And that basically means the equilibrium condition itself is the equation of the expansion path. Itself is the equation of the expansion path. Okay. Now, in the last problem, we have taken basically a kind of Cobb-Douglas where the power was 1, that is numeric 1, and that actually simplified our problem. Okay. But for this, we are going to take a Cobb-Douglas which is general in structure, and then we'll minimize, okay, and we'll get to the equilibrium condition which will give us basically the expansion path. But as I said, that our interest is not really in the equation of expansion path. We are interested, our interest lies somewhere else. Okay, so let's do that. So now instead of Q naught equal to Q L comma K, we'll write the generalized structure of Cobb-Douglas function, which is A into L to the power alpha, K to the power beta. And the only restriction that we will put in is basically this: alpha and beta both are positive. So that's the only restriction that we give. Okay. So no restriction regarding whether this sums up to 1 or more than 1 or less than 1. Something that we are not interested in right now. Okay. So let's find the equilibrium condition. That's pretty simple. So let's construct the Lagrangian. WL plus RK plus lambda Q naught minus A into L to the power alpha K to the power beta. Okay. And for the equilibrium condition, we don't need to differentiate it, differentiate the Lagrangian against lambda. So we'll just do 2. So against L, it yields W minus lambda into A into alpha L to the power alpha minus 1 into k to the power beta. And for lambda differentiate with respect to k, it yields r minus lambda into a into L to the power alpha into beta into k to the power beta minus 1. Okay, now the equilibrium condition. So what is the equilibrium condition? So first order is obviously equal to 0. So what is the equilibrium condition? The equilibrium condition is that W by R equal to lambda A alpha minus 1 k to the power beta divided by lambda A L to the power alpha beta k to the power beta minus 1. And if we go for a cancellation, then it yields alpha by beta into k by L, which can be written as alpha by beta into k, the symbol that we used in the growth model, the problem, the mathematics of solar growth. So this is basically capital labor ratio. Capital labor ratio. Okay, so our equation of expansion path is W by R equal to alpha by beta, let's keep it k by L. Now, since it will be drawn in a diagram with k and L on the two axes, let's change it a bit. So it will be W beta L equal to alpha R k, which is W beta L minus alpha R k equal to 0. Now, what is this? W and beta, alpha and R, they are all parameters. L and k are only variables. So I am looking at a straight line. And since this straight line doesn't have an intercept, so here the intercept is 0. Since this intercept is 0, I can say that the expansion path is not only a straight line, but it goes through the origin. All right, that's the result. Okay, so let's write that result. And it's not even the result so the actual result that we are looking at is far more appropriate, far more important than that. So what is the result here? So the expansion path is a straight line passing through origin. But there is something missing. What we missed is that we didn't mention that we worked for a Cobb-Douglas function. There is a reason for that. And the reason is this. See, when we chose Cobb-Douglas function, we didn't talk about its the value of alpha plus beta. Now, the production function that we have taken is a into L to the power alpha k to the power beta. Now, if I multiply, if I want to find the degree of homogeneity, then the degree of homogeneity will be alpha plus beta. the degree of homogeneity will be alpha plus beta. And if this is equal to 1, I'm looking at a CRS. If it is greater than 1, I'm looking at an IRS, increasing returns to scale. And if it is less than 1, then I'm looking at decreasing returns to scale. Okay, so that much is fine. Then, since we have not defined it, that means the expansion path is a straight line passing through origin for any homogeneous function. That's a very important result. The expansion path is a straight line through origin for any homogeneous function. Why? Because for a homogeneous function, what happens is that this capital lever ratio, it remains the same. Okay? And how does it look? Let's look at a diagram. So if I'm defining homogeneous function, what maybe its degree, that doesn't count, we have just seen. And the reason is that it is connected to this capital lever ratio. This remains fixed. As long as it remains fixed for a homogeneous function's optimal points, the line will be a straight line. Obviously, for non-homogeneous functions, this result will not hold. Okay, so it may become straight line, may become not. But if I'm talking about a homogeneous function, then obviously it's a straight line. Okay, so that's a result. And that's a very important result. Okay, so let's look at two diagrams. One diagram is obviously for what we have found, and the next one is in general. So what we have found is this. Since we have got a straight line, let's draw the straight line first. Okay, so that's so our expansion path goes like this. Okay. But in general, there is no rule like this at all. Okay. Now, just to add, the equilibrium condition will give us the expansion path as long as the ICs are convex to the origin. Sorry, isoquants. The isoquants are convex to the origin. Otherwise, it will not hold. Okay. All right. So just let's write the precaution here. This result, no, not this result. Okay, this is this. Expansion path can be found from FOC or equilibrium condition, let's say. No, okay. No, from equilibrium condition, it will be always, I can find expansion path. The idea is the differentiation result, obviously, that is the FOC that we derived, that will not work. So essentially, if you have some non-convex kind of an isoquant, what you do is you find the equilibrium condition and then you say that this is the equation of the expansion path. Okay, so that's what you do. It's very simple. All right, now we will go to another extension, which is form homogeneous function, which is very trivial in its nature, and that's called homothetic function. So what is homothetic function? Mathematically speaking, it's very simple. It's a monotonic transformation, and for our purpose, we will keep it positive. So a positive monotonic transformation of homogeneous function. We keep it positive because we are working in the purview of production. So if I take a negative monotonic transformation, the function will become homothetic, but it will become meaningless suddenly. Okay, because the value of production will be negative. So that's why. So that's why I keep it positive, a positive monotonic transformation of homogeneous function that gives us a homothetic function. All right, so this one is a homogeneous function. So what do you mean by a positive monotonic transformation? That means considering some v of q where v dash q is positive. Okay, so this is what is positive monotonic transformation means. And the simplest of positive monotonic transformation is the log transformation. So let us take vq equal to ln q, which is ln a plus alpha ln L plus beta ln K. All right. Now there is a little bit of problem. The problem is that now if I ask this question, is V of Q homogeneous? What do I see? If I multiply L by lambda and K by lambda, then it will simply, the addition will expand. So it will be alpha ln lambda plus beta ln lambda, two extra terms. But we cannot get it out. Take common, right? So that is not possible. So is V of Q homogeneous? No, that's not. But there is one advantage, and the advantage is this. Since it is a positive monotonic transformation, since this is a positive monotonic transformation, the advantage is this. If I take, let's say, if I consider Q to be Q of L comma K, and if I consider V of Q as V of Q of L comma K with V dash Q positive, I'm talking the general scenario of this one, correct? So now if I just differentiate V dash Q, this will be V dash Q into, sorry. Now if I, now if I try to find this slope of isoquant Q equal to Q of L comma K and slope of isoquant V equal to V of Q, what will I observe? I will observe that these slopes are same. Right? And that's very simple to observe. Why? Because you see, V is end of the day a function of L comma K. So that means slope of V, if I want to calculate, then slope of V can be calculated from this equation. V bar equal to V of Q, which is V of Q of L comma K. Now if I differentiate, then this will become 0 and this will become V dash Q, then QL plus V dash Q QK. And now V dash Q is positive. So that means basically non-zero. And that is the only thing that is the only thing that is required. So immediately the equation will change to 0 equal to QL plus QK. So end of the day, the result will tell us. So end of the day, what happens is that this is also the equation when I'm trying to find the slope of the isoquant Q. So that means the slope is same. Okay. So that's an advantage. And from that advantage, we have two different results. One result which is coming from this calculation, which showed that if I make homothetic function from a homogeneous function, then the resulting function that may not be homogeneous. All right. But if I have a homogeneous function, if I have a homothetic, sorry. Wait. So let's just write the result. Okay. So that will clear out the picture here.